Welcome to another edition of SaaS Builders. I'm joined today here with Nathan Thompson, and he's just an incredible guy when it comes to making sure that you're assessing your HR candidates the way that you should be. If you're bringing on somebody new and so forth. So, Nathan, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you got going on, and how all this makes life better?
Okay. Thank you, Jefferson. So I'm Nate Thompson. I'm a psychometrician by training, which means that I study the process of assessment itself. So not just any particular type of assessment, but what is the science that goes into building a good test? How do you analyze the data that comes out of it and make sure that it's accurately predicting things that you want to predict, whether it's job performance or graduating college or something else. I did my undergrad at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, and I did a PhD in psychometrics at the University of Minnesota, where my focus was on adaptive testing algorithms. So those are AI algorithms that are used to deliver tests to candidates or students that personalize the assessment for them, so that the smarter students get a tougher exam and the not quite as able students get a little easier exam. And there's many other benefits to it too, such as being more secure, more accurate, and more fair. So after finishing grad school, I went out and worked at a large testing company for a short time, and then I decided to come back and partner with my graduate advisor, who had a hobby company of sorts at the time. And we focused on taking some of the legacy software, this was back in 2008, and putting it online and making it available as a typical online SaaS, because that's the modern way of doing business, right? So, a lot of the software we have has been around since DOS days. That's the legacy that we have there. So it was originally upgraded to Windows PC LAN during the 90s. And then I brought it into the world of online SaaS. So our focus is on providing software and some consulting services that make it easier to develop quality tests or quality assessments, regardless of what type of assessment you're doing. It can be an HR test, it can be certification test, it can be employment testing, it can be licensure testing. So if state of Texas is giving a test to everybody on how to spread pesticides, we help them develop and deliver exams like that. Not Texas in particular, but that's an example of the kind of work that we do. And over half of our work is outside the US. We do a lot of work with ministries of education in other countries, making sure that they can develop and deliver high stakes exams like national benchmarks or university admissions. So
that's
kind of a long answer.
That's fantastic. And it's really, I think it also goes to show that there's innovation everywhere, and that's what it's really required. You're innovating using software, using your background to really, put it out there. That's a fantastic story. Just some thoughts though. I mean, when you were talking about all the different possibilities, I know within our network, there's an organization, they do certification for people that do remediation work for, mold and things like that. So could your software conceivably be used by the organization to license their people?
Yep, that's exactly the kind of work that we do. So we don't own any test content ourselves, but we work with organizations like that who will have a panel of, let's say, 10 experts on remediation and mold, and they're going to write questions on remediation and mold and deliver it to people who want to get certified in that.
That's excellent. But then there's also the other side of the house, which we talked about, when we're trying to recruit a candidate, and we want to make sure, screening wise, that they're the right candidate. So we can use the same software to do that, right?
Yep, I work with a number of clients doing the same thing, especially in the public sector area. I just signed on with the state of California Department of Human Resources this year to do statewide exams for them. And of course, a lot of the type of assessments that places like that will build will be specific to a certain jurisdiction. If you're trying to select police officers in a certain state, you're going to be asking questions about laws in that state. So you can't just pick an exam off a shelf.
Right, exactly. So, well, tell me more about, what businesses might do in order to better recruit good candidates and to, because that's one of the big challenges. You have a pool of 10 people. Of course, they're all going to say whatever they're going to say to get hired, but after they get hired, they fall apart. So how can we make sure, they don't fall apart after being hired?
Yeah, it's kind of two types of problems there. There's one problem where it's a small scale, such as having 10 applicants for a position, and there's another problem when it's large scale. So like if you're in charge of hiring for Target or Home Depot. And in those cases, it's a real numbers game. It's all about finding things that have the most predictive validity. And there's decades and decades of research on what goes into accurately predicting job performance. Even though we can't really measure job performance all that well, that's still something that's kind of tough, or at least not as well as we wake. Certainly better than we did years ago. And they found through all the research that one of course, the best predictors of job performance is, general cognitive ability, or what we usually just call intelligence in plain English. But there's a lot of additional things that go into it too that provide what we call incremental validity over that. So that's being able to have, let's say, conscientiousness or integrity, or personality type variables like that. Or maybe you have a job sample test that makes people sit down and actually put together a widget or whatever it is that they need to do. And different types of jobs require different types of things. Having a sales job requires certain types of personality or non-cognitive aspects that working in a factory doesn't. So there's a lot of work that goes into designing selection systems that are appropriate so that you can benefit the most from the predictive validity of a combination of predictors.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. And I think that goes back to, we just need to, use software like yours to screen a little bit more. And then also, like you say, just a little bit of OJT, here's a small widget that client XYZ wanted, give it a try. But that's what we do on our side. But inevitably, sometimes people, slip through the cracks. But still, I think if we do a little bit more upfront measurement, we could do better, even with our organization. And I think there's many others that could do the same. Well, do you have any final thoughts or tips that you'd like to share with our members, or anything that you come across recently?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that steers to me is implementations of AI and machine learning.
That's right.
Yeah, not just in assessment, but of course in like HR in general too. Everything I just talked about with predictive validity and stuff, that area has just been blown wide open over the last 10 years as we've had great advances in the technology of machine learning and the software available to do it. So being able to develop those predictive analytical models for trying to analyze job performance, create assessments, and then link the two, that's totally changed over the last 10 years. And I can only see that going even more technology-wise and accurate over the next 10 years. And in terms of AI, there's a lot that AI can help too. It's I work a lot with AI on the testing side. So, building tests that adapt to everybody just based upon the answers that they're giving to try to maximize the accuracy of the exam. But probably one of the biggest areas where there's an opportunity in the whole, software world is remote proctoring. And I don't do that myself, but that I've seen that explode over the last year and a half because of the pandemic. It used to be that all certification exams were pretty much given in person in testing centers or like in a crowded conference hall or something like that. And of course, that all went away when the pandemic hit. So all of those organizations were scrambling to shift towards delivery with remote proctoring. And there are certain ways that AI can be used to implement that. And it's usually not as good for high stakes tests. You want to have human proctors for high stakes tests. But there are so many opportunities for implementing AI when it comes to delivering an exam and making sure that it's secure and fair.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I know, like, for example, University of the People, they would have human proctored exams for certain courses, and the rest were, the non-critical exams for, like, whatever. They would just do basic monitoring. But you're right. I mean, since everybody's working from home, we got to find a better way to examine whether that person really is who they say they is. And I think actually blockchain technology might be another way to do it, because if you sign a transaction, and it's KYC and everything else, then the only way you could sign that transaction again is if you had, those keys. So maybe another way to do that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, that's going to be an interesting evolution. I've also been talking with others. There was a gentleman that does, he removes fake reviews and he uses AI/ML, a lot of training and so forth to identify and then be able to say that, hey, these are obviously fake reviews, which can greatly impact the business. You can go from 4-star to 3-star and then nobody goes to you, all because of like 10 fake reviews all at once. So
yeah, that's really important because it's so easy to make fake reviews these days too. And even there's other places I think that could be useful too. I noticed I posted a job on Upwork last week and got maybe 20 applications, and 3 of them looked extremely similar, like it had the same bullet lists inside them. Obviously, there's something fake going on there too.
yeah, a lot of fake workers, all that. And I think more organizations will start to implement AI ML just to get rid of the, if you will, the robots, so that we can get back to quality. And I think testing software like yours will also go a long way towards making sure that we have that quality in our organization. So, which is important.
Yep, that's exactly what I think. There was a study done by Deloitte that predicted 40% of the legal profession was going to go away or be automated. Of course, that doesn't mean that lawyers are going away. It just means the drudgery of searching through books or creating stock paperwork or things like that is going to go away. And
agreed.
I mean, there was that to be like that too.
What was that app? It's like no more legal or something. You can get an app to just automatically file for getting rid of parking tickets or whatever. There was that app that's up on the App Store. Made a huge industry out of it. And that, I think we're going to see that more and more. A lot of like one of my clients is creating software to make home buying easier, because that's also a very complicated process and it can be done a lot simpler. And I think we're going to see more of that, more automation. But at the same time, we want to make sure that it's done with quality, that we don't have just robots signing home documents. Then it's like, well, who's really the homeowner? Some machine in Switzerland or, who? Yeah. Yeah, that's going to get interesting. All right, well, it's been a fantastic interview. Definitely would like to circle back with you in about, 6 months or so, just to see how things are going. And it's been fun. So
yeah, I'd love to circle back. Thank you for the opportunity.
thanks.